Is this a good internship for business students? What are the best companies to apply to? What do interns here even do? Is this internship paid? How much are interns normally paid? If you're a business student in college or university and you're still trying to figure out what internships you should apply to, then this video is for you. We're going to use this video to cover 4 of the most popular internship opportunities for business majors. We'll be breaking down each of these opportunities by first going over what these interns do, then going over the notable companies in the space, and then going over the compensation and work hours, and finally covering the best skills to learn to compete for these internships. All right, now let's get started with investment banking. So if you're a business student and you've spent enough time around those hardcore finance for life guys, then you've probably heard of investment banking. And for those of you who are not familiar, let me give you a brief rundown. So these big name, super well-known investment banks actually do quite a few things like proprietary trading, equity research, and wealth management. But in this video, we're going to focus on their traditional investment banking teams. So what do investment bankers actually do? Well, investment bankers help with 2 things, financing or advisory. On the financing side, that's where they help companies raise money through equity or debt. So on the equity side, that means they help companies with stock issuances and IPOs. And on the debt side, that's where they help with loans and corporate bond issuances. Then you have the advisory side. So on the advisory side, that's where investment banking teams help with strategic finance decisions, with the most popular being mergers and acquisitions. So for example, if McDonald's wanted to acquire, let's say, Shake Shack, then they might approach an investment banking team for help on determining the fair value or fair price of the acquisition of Shake Shack. When you explore the type of work that you'll do as an investment banking intern, you'll see that you'll be exposed to a number of different tasks. So you could be building complex financial models, you could be creating company presentations, or even compiling important financial news reports. Now let's quickly cover some notable companies. The most well-known bulge bracket banks include names like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citi, UBS, Barclays, and a few other banks. These are the companies that have a wide variety of teams that cover different regions, industries, and services. Then you also have smaller boutique investment banks that tend to specialize in a certain service or product type. Some of the elite boutique investment banks include names like Centerview, Lazard, and Evercore. All right, now let's cover compensation and work hours. Investment banking is probably the highest paid internship that you can get as a college business major. As an intern, you'll probably earn around $1,750 per week, or about $17,500 for a 10-week summer internship. Pretty crazy, right? That said, you really do have to put in the work because these investment banking interns work 16 hours a day for 6 days a week, and some estimates even suggest that they work 70 to 100-hour work weeks. All right, now let's cover the best skills to learn to pursue an investment banking internship if you're still not fazed by the 16-hour work days. So finance is pretty quantitative, so you'll probably want to pick up Excel, financial modeling and valuation, and basic business statistics. In addition to that, communication will also be important, so PowerPoint and general communication soft skills will also be a plus. And then finally, because these internships are so competitive, you'll definitely want to pick up some extracurriculars. So learning a second language could be a great option, or also learning how to code. So things like VBA, SQL, and Python would be great additions to your resume. All right, now let's cover our next internship type, management consulting. Management consulting firms are typically hired by other companies who need strategic help solving a complex problem or issue. Many of these methods include projects focused on finding ways to cut costs or boost revenues. To make up some examples, let's say that McDonald's might consider hiring a consulting team if they wanted help figuring out which tasks in the kitchen they could automate so that they can cut costs. Or another example could be Tesla, and let's say that they might hire a consulting team if they wanted help entering a new market where they would sell all-electric airplanes. When looking at these management consulting interns, you'll see that they'll generally have a mix of quantitative skills and soft skills. So they'll often be doing quantitative work when drawing insights from the data, and they'll often be applying their soft skills when doing client-facing work, presenting these insights in front of their clients. All right, so let's go over some notable companies. The most prestigious consulting firms go by the acronym MBB, which stands for McKinsey, Bain, and Boston Consulting Group. Then you also have the big 4 accounting firms that also have consulting teams, but we'll go over those companies later in the video. And then you also have some other well-known consulting firms like Accenture, Oliver Wyman, and Booz Allen Hamilton. So how much are consulting interns paid, and how much do they typically work? Well, Consulting interns at McKinsey are paid very well, as they're paid typically $1,500 per week, or about $15,000 for a 10-week internship, which is very competitive and probably one of the highest paid business internships that you can get, second to investment banking. Now let's take a look at work hours. Consulting interns at these high-end consulting firms do work really long hours, as they work similarly to first-year consultants. That said, they're not as high as investment banking hours, but some estimates suggest around 50 to 80 hours per week. Now let's look at the skills that you'll need to pursue an internship in management consulting. First, to take care of the quantitative side, you'll definitely want to pick up Microsoft Excel and basic business statistics. Then presentations and client-facing skills will also be really important, so PowerPoint is also another must pick up. And then because these internships are so competitive, you'll also want to have some extracurriculars that you can use to differentiate yourself. So speaking a second language helps, learning how to code will also help, and even joining a college or university sports team can be kind of interesting. Okay, so here's another quick tip. A lot of these consulting firms actually like to interview their candidates with case studies, as they tend to use specialized frameworks when approaching certain problems or issues. With this in mind, McKinsey actually posts a lot of free practice case study questions on their website, and you should definitely check those out to go ahead and practice for your interviews. I'll leave a link for that in the description of this video. Now let's move on to the next internship type, accounting. Accountants help companies track their financial record and financial position by compiling information that feeds into important financial documents like the income statement, balance sheet, and statement of cash flows. This type of information helps business owners answer key questions like how much revenue did I make last year, or how much did I save in taxes from depreciation, or even things like how much did I borrow from the bank last month. Now, there are also other specialized teams that work on other things like audit, tax accounting, and other specialized accounting services. All right, so the most notable companies make up the Big Four, which are PwC, EY, Deloitte, and KPMG. These massive companies employ over 300,000 people, and they have offices in over 100 different countries all over the world. This makes sense because most corporations, if you think about it, no matter where they are, will usually need some sort of accounting services. So what about compensation and work hours? Well, accounting internships are actually less competitive than investment banking and consulting internships, so they pay a bit less at around $20 to $30 per hour, or about $11,250 for a 10-week summer internship. On the work hour side, it's actually pretty reasonable at around 40 to 50 hours per week. But that said, there are certain time windows where they work longer hours, like at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year when they're working on closing important year-end accounts. All right, now let's look at some skills that you should pick up if you want to pursue an accounting internship. As you can imagine, accounting is quite quantitative, so you'll definitely want to pick up Excel and accounting fundamentals. And then similar to other internships, you want to focus on presentation skills, so PowerPoint is definitely a good way to go. And then if you really want to stand out, you should consider picking up ERPs or enterprise resource planning softwares, and some examples include Oracle and SAP. And then you can also go for SQL and VBA. All right, now let's get into our final internship category, corporate business roles. Many large corporations will have a wide variety of business-oriented roles. This can include things like FP&A or financial planning and analysis, business operations, business strategy, marketing, sales, etc. So of course, with so many different teams, many of these teams will actually have different tasks and responsibilities, but ultimately, I think it's fair to say that many of these teams are working towards the common goal of either cutting costs or boosting revenues. Now let's talk about some notable companies. The big tech corporations are always popular favorites as they look great on resumes and they're very recognizable. So these tech companies are Facebook or Meta, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Tesla, Uber, etc. That said, you don't always have to focus on tech. There's tons of other great alternatives with the Fortune 500 space, like companies in Coca-Cola, Visa, Ford, Costco, and a whole string of other big names. Now, to cover compensation and work hours, it's actually pretty difficult to come up with a compensation estimate for a lot of these large corporations, as they tend to have offices and work roles in locations all over the world with adjusted pay scales. That said, most US positions you could kind of guess make around $15 to $25 an hour, or about $8,000 for a 10-week summer internship. On the work hour side, it's pretty relaxed compared to investment banking and management consulting, as you can expect to work around 40 to 50 hours per week. Now, when talking about the best skills to learn to pick up a corporate business internship, there'll be quite a lot of variation here as it'll really depend on which team you're trying to go for. But in general, it'll be a good idea to pick up Excel, PowerPoint, SQL, and Power BI, as well as some bonus skills like interpersonal skills and fundamental finance skills. All right, so that just about covers our video on the best internship opportunities for business majors in 2023. Some students will prefer different opportunities over others, depending on their preferences on things like pay, work-life balance, location, and other factors. So with that in mind, let us know in the comments if you want us to dive deeper into a specific career path, or if you want us to explore some other career path options that we haven't covered in this video or other videos that we've posted. So with that in mind, if you found this video helpful, please feel free to give us a like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.